Hi everyone again. It's exciting to introduce you to this guide because it's been something that's been in the works for a period of time, and we're so delighted with all of the review that's taken place as well to support it in being in this form now. So we've designed the guide to be quite flexible because some of you are already doing these things, are doing a number of these things, and there are also going to be packages or areas that you haven't explored yet. So no matter where you are along that spectrum, it's like you can start small and try an action and build momentum over time, or you can build from the package of things you're already doing and kind of go deeper into those. So as we dive in, use that sort of as your thinking is just like how can you prompt new ideas based on what's in the Seniors Home Guide. So there are 6 action packages: living spaces, on the move, good stuff, next level food, life changes, and living well. And for each package, I'm going to share a few of the actions that are in it, as well as one sort of real life example from somewhere in the world in a senior's home. The guide includes actions that can be taken by operators and staff, and it also includes resident-led actions. I'm going to do a little note here to say that on our One Earth Living website, we also have a guide for neighborhoods and a guide for workplaces that follows the same sort of package orientation with action ideas. So if one of those really appeals to you, take a look at that as well. As Cora noted, we use the One Planet principles and show them for each of these action packages, the principles that are most relevant to them. And there are a lot of co-benefits to taking the kind of actions that are described in the guide. Benefits for the homes, for seniors, and for the planet. So, for example, for seniors, things like gardening, walking, using shared transportation, or eating more plant-based can help people with their physical health and well-being. Beyond health, they also help build belonging and purpose. Doing things together, like classes or gardening together, for example, reduces loneliness, it strengthens social connections, and it creates opportunities to share skills and experiences across generations. And this also supports mental well-being. So, for example, trying different habits or engaging with your sense of legacy or pride. And there are financial benefits for seniors as well, because instead of replacing, repairing something or sharing something rather than buying something new or improving the energy efficiency can all help reduce those kinds of costs, those everyday costs. And for the seniors' homes, there are clear benefits as well. So sustainability initiatives can support staff well-being, for example, by making it a more positive workplace, like better access to nature, strengthening the relationships between staff and residents. They can also reduce actual operating costs, of course, of the seniors' homes, energy efficiency or waste reduction, bulk purchasing of shared services and supplies. And finally, of course, it's a leadership position as well. So demonstrating that the seniors' home is acting responsibly for both today's residents, but also future generations, which can attract partners and also leave, of course, a really important legacy. So with those benefits in our minds, let's just start exploring that first action package. The first one is called Living Spaces. And this package really looks at the way in which indoor and outdoor spaces in seniors' homes are designed and used and cared for, and how operational changes and everyday resident actions can improve both comfort and well-being, sustainability, and often it saves money too. So as I noted, there are dozens of actions in each of the packages to pick from or to be inspired by. And on these slides, you're only going to see a few of them. So you'll find the fuller set in the guide itself. On the operational side, there are things like improving energy and water efficiency, adding greenery indoors or outdoors, choosing healthy materials, or creating comfortable spaces, such as by using blinds or awnings. Like some of these are high tech, some are low tech. And from a resident perspective, residents can notice drafts or leaks, care for plants, adjust their routines, such as making passive heating or cooling possible by closing their windows in peak heat periods. So, as I noted, each of these packages has a set of examples from around the world, and I'm going to describe one example, but you'll find the other ones that are noted on these slides in the guide itself. So in Saanich itself at Twin Oaks, a 32-unit cooperative, the residents replaced old baseboard heaters with modern heat pumps, and that really changed how the building stayed comfortable all year. And they provide both heating and cooling functions and also significantly reduce energy use. So the next package is On the Move, and this is of course about supporting mobility, but it has this benefit of also independence and reducing emissions while also increasing access to the places people want to go. So some operational actions here are, for example, something as simple as like sharing information about public transit, but it can be also infrastructure, improving walking and wheeling infrastructure, or it could be transitioning facility vehicles to electric options, or advocacy, like advocating for better transit connections, which could be done by resident-led groups as well. Residents can join group walks or nature strolls. They can share their favorite walking routes. They can look at ways to use mobility aids to stay active over time and look at how to make the streets more accessible to them and then advocate for those changes. So, for example, at the St. Peter's residence in Ontario, staff worked with the city to get a bus shelter built right outside the building, making it much easier for the residents and the staff to use public transit. The next package is good stuff. And of course, it's really looking at our stuff like reuse, sharing, and also mindful consumption. Like, how much do we need? What do we need? Operationally, this can be things like providing clear recycling systems or offering reusable items instead of throwaway, supporting repair or upcycling workshops, or creating spaces where people can share tools or supplies. And residents could do this themselves as well. They could trade books or clothing, do clothing swaps. They could share stories about thrift and sort of old ways that still work. Um, and it could even include an intergenerational skill swap, for example, where seniors teach repair or mending skills and youth teach technology. Lots of ideas in this package. At the Gardens at Broadmoor Court in Colorado, the seniors home publishes weekly blogs which talk about reducing single-use items, carrying reusable mugs, ideas for regifting. And when residents downsize, they're encouraged to ask whether an item is still useful to somebody else. And so really reinforcing reuse as an act of care. The next package is Next Level Food, and it focuses on how food is planned, prepared, and shared in seniors' homes, and how those can support both health and sustainability goals. So this can be menu planning, portion sizing, being asking for seconds and having smaller first portions, sourcing local and seasonal foods, composting, and from a resident's perspective, people can share favorite recipes or food memories, give feedback on the portions, and support the efforts to reduce food waste. So in Durham, Ontario, 4 long-term care homes work together to promote local food by testing meals that fit within budgets and within the purchasing contracts. So they reported that just that work of supporting local food made them feel really good and also brought back positive memories for them of farm-grown food. And the family members were also really excited about the food quality that this was providing for people. Um, this package here is called Life Changes, and it's about ways to support seniors through transitions like aging, but also downsizing and honoring lost loved ones or moving into the home, and how these can open the door to new routines and traditions. So this could include offering sustainable move-in kits, for example, like what are the practices within the seniors' home so that people are oriented, supporting donation and reuse during transition periods, and providing information about green memorials or legacy giving. And from a resident perspective, it could involve storytelling, sharing memories, choosing low waste celebrations, like how do we celebrate, what are the types of gifts that we give, and reflecting on shared values or legacy. At One Earth, this theme of life changes is really close to our heart as an organization. We have an initiative called Big Life Changes, and it focuses on sustainability and big life changes and how they come together. Um, at Langdale Care Homes in the UK, they have a real focus on storytelling as central to this community life. And so they look at ways in which group activities and memory books and one-on-one conversations can support connection around the stories of people's lives. The final package is Living Well. And this focuses on well-being, connection, and nature as the foundations for sustainable living. And there's actually a whole box about the connection with nature in this chapter, in this section. This segment is about operational actions like creating healthy indoor and outdoor spaces, integrating nature right into the design, and creating these opportunities for connecting to nature. So resident-led actions can be joining green teams, gardening, bird walking, watching, leading walks or fitness activities, and sharing stories about sustainability with each other. Across the US and Canada, Sunrise Senior Living supports residents to stay physically and mentally well. They offer low impact fitness classes such as yoga and Tai Chi, reflection, meditation, gardening. And they do that both indoors and outdoors, and they're really wonderful at creating these daily routines that are gentle on people, but that also bring people closer to each other and to nature. So those are the six action packages. And of course, once you take a look at them in a lot more detail, you could pick one or more action packs to start thinking about what you'd like to do or what you'd like to build on, what you're already doing. We have a worksheet within the guide. And we also have a 16 point, like font point and large version of all the actions in the guide if it's helpful to you to like print out for example, for a seniors group to be able to really work with. Um, and we've developed also a resident-friendly handout that highlights actions that can be taken by seniors themselves if, for example, the residence hasn't yet made sustainability a priority. So it's all the actions that can be done with or without the support of the residents. And of course, the guide itself looks at things that can be done in that way as well, but with a big emphasis also on operator-led or operator-supported actions. Um, Within the guide towards the end, we have a resources section, and that's multiple pages where we talk about different resources that you can draw on as you're implementing this work. And you can download the full guide at oneearthliving.org/resources. And there are lots of other resources on our One Earth website as well. Um, you're going to get this whole slide deck, and so you don't need to take detailed notes on these slides, but I just wanted to show that we've listed some of the resources, including grants, rebates, and tax incentives that can help seniors' homes implement some of what we've talked about so far on our call today. So there are CRD waste reduction grants. Saanich offers a number of community grants and a tax incentive for conversion to heat pumps. And if you're based in Victoria, the city offers community-based grants too. And I know that we also have some people here from the interior. Likewise, there will be incentives and funding opportunities there as well. City of Victoria offers the My Greater Neighborhoods Grant and the Growing in the City Grant. And then there are numerous incentives that are province-wide. So from BC Hydro, the federal government as well, that support energy efficiency retrofits, fuel switching, and community engagement, and grants from community foundations such as the Neighborhood Small Grants, which provide $500 grants, for example, for people doing things in their neighborhood, which can be a seniors community. And so we will definitely make this list available, and it's by no means exhaustive, but it definitely is a first step in helping you think about how you can fund things that do actually cost money. But many of the actions in the guide actually are free, so they don't cost money. Um, so that's the safari of walking through the guide. And I thought at this moment I'll pass it over to our colleague from Terry Dance Bennick from Berwick Royal Oaks Climate Action Committee to talk a little bit about some of the things that they've been doing there, because they really will bring to life some of the actions that are already shared in the guide. Over to you, Terry.
Okay, are you going to put on a slide?
I sure am. I sure
Okay,
am. So Terry, here is there's the first slide, which just gives a bit of an overview of what Berwick looks like.
right.
And
Good,
then I'm going to move over to some bullet points that you can use to discuss.
great.
So here you go. Thank you.
Okay, so just before I review some of these points, I just want to mention who's in our room here today, because we're really pleased. We have a mix of staff and residents. So we have Bonnie, who's representing Active Living. We have Jeff, who's the head of our maintenance department. We have Matt, who's the head of hospitality and food services. And then as residents, there's me, and there's Penny, and Gail, and Vic. So we got a nice, a nice blend. So I guess the first thing that we've been going as a committee for 2 years, and one of the things that we realized that it's a cause of celebration. It's the mere fact of 270 seniors choosing to move into Berwick Royal Oak is a carbon reduction action, because we have left our private individual houses and condos. We are now living communally. We are sharing the maintenance costs, sharing the food, sharing the transportation. And I don't think that's really been highlighted enough by seniors' homes. Like, this is a wonderful contribution that seniors can make, especially Saanich, when it's really concerned about density. Well, we're living in a dense environment, but we're happy, and it's got a lot of pluses. So that's the first thing. And then under your action strategy of On the Move, we have a chauffeur-driven car, hybrid car, and that's a godsend because it takes us to all of our medical appointments, shopping, you name it. Saanich has had a bus shelter right in front of our building, which is a plus. I think we need to do more to encourage people to take the public transit, but it's there. And of course, we have a bus. It's diesel, but it holds 16, and we go all over to all kinds of, nature outings, events, festivals, and it's very, very popular. Heating is Jeff's bailiwick, and we do have in all the suites in the living room areas, we have heat pumps, which is huge. And that's, 270 suites, right, Jeff?
Correct. 229 suites.
229 suites, sorry. In the bedroom area, we still have baseboard, but that's just having the heat pumps alone is a really good thing. And our building is very well maintained. We're almost 20 years old, but you wouldn't know it. And then Matt, with a lot of prodding, he has a food committee that is the bane of his existence. Because it's residents and we're always coming up with ideas for it. But anyway, we have encouraged less meat. We now do have vegetarian options on every menu. They need to be sort of jazzed up a bit, but they're getting there, and just having them is a plus. And certainly as the price of beef goes up and lamb, it's a good thing to be looking at more plant-based menus. We have 3 restaurants, so it's a big item. And waste reduction, we started a swap meet. So every month or every 2 months, we encourage residents to bring their clothes, their household items, and we just swap, and it's hugely popular. The chapel is jammed. And then what things that are not taken by residents, we donate to a charity. Is there another slide?
There is not. But you can say you can
Okay.
definitely close with any here. I'll move it back a slide and then you can you can make any other comments that you wish.
A couple of other things. Yeah, we've done a lot on resident climate education. You know, we've brought in speakers like Elizabeth May and Thomas Homer Dixon, and that's our theater gets filled with thermal energy at Royal Roads. We organized a green investments panel that went over, I would say so-so, but we tried. And we share reviews of relevant books on climate change. That's Vic's initiative. What else? A couple of other things, our books and puzzles to those. We've encouraged at a general meeting for residents to use eco-detergent laundry strips. That's important, and to reduce our use of paper. Composting, we've got another compost bin now in our cafe, encouraging people to compost more. We're joining this program, which we think is a really important commitment. And we've also done political advocacy. We've gone to Saanich Council 3 times and spoke up for free transit for BC seniors. Sue Big Oil, we think Saanich should look into joining that municipal campaign and talk a bit about what we're doing here. You had an open house right beside our building here on your climate strategy, and we were most impressed. We had no idea you were doing all of what you're doing, and we gave you some feedback. We had 2 all candidates meetings, theater of 130 people filled to grill the federal and the provincial candidates, attended some rallies, and last but not least, with Vic joining us, we've started an intergenerational initiative partnering with Claremont Secondary School, who has been active for years in taking their students to Ottawa on a train trip, you know, to learn about what it means to be a Canadian citizen and to take climate action. We hosted their film. They made videos of this trip, and we had them here last week, and it was so moving. And so there's an ongoing group now looking at how we can support these students and other youth. So that's a new initiative. But when we went through your guide, we all have copies here. You know, we were able to check off quite a few, but there were some other ideas that we haven't looked at. So we thank you for inviting us to be part of it.
Thank you so much. That's just so helpful, Terry, just to bring us into the reality of like the incredible actions that you've already taken at Berwick. And I'm excited to work together to think about how we can support you on the ones that you're picking up, as well as supporting you on the continuation of the actions that you are already doing. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Denise Brum from Summit Food Service Manager at Island Health is also going to share a few words about what they're doing around food.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for taking time out of your day to be here. And we're really excited to share with you today what the food service team at the Summit's been working on over the last number of months. Some of you might not be familiar with the Summit, so I'll just provide some information, some basic stats about our facility. So we are a 320 bed long-term care home located in Victoria, BC. And as a part of that, we have a special population unit, which is a supportive unit that is within the building as well. In addition to that, we have 15 dining rooms, 14 are inpatient, and 1 is an outpatient dining room. For that outpatient support, it is a 20 adult daycare space, and we also have 4 renal unit beds, which we can support if people are transitioning. Normally they'd be coming for breakfast, but instead they're going to their the renal unit. So we might provide them with a packaged or meal to go along with that. And we have the capacity to provide up to 50 additional guest meals per day as well.
Mm.
So when the Green Team started here, we looked at a number of initiatives, and it wasn't anything we really came up on our own. We kind of petitioned everybody to ask, hey, what would be important to you? What would you like to see changed? And so the ideas started kind of coming in, and we had to we were starting to look at like what can we do? How can we improve things here? So one of the first things we started looking at was just our single-use plastics. And it's not that we were using a lot of single-use plastics, but even just analyzing that bag lunch that went down to the renal unit, or if somebody was going out for an appointment, kind of like what else can we do to change like how that meal is packaged so that we could even reduce those single-use plastics. And so we made some small changes, but when you're a big operation, those small changes really add up. So we were really excited to implement those things. And then from there, we looked at our single-use products. So many of you have seen, I don't know if you can see like this little package here. This would be like a package of jam. So these types of products slowly crept in for different reasons. Again, might have been like, oh, let's buy like a variety of jams to stick in those bag breakfasts that need to go out the door, or those special texture meals that need like a seedless jam. So we were buying, grape jelly like that. But we looked at all those products, all these small single-use products. You're paying for that packaging, and then you're paying to put it in the garbage. So is there a way we could transition to a bulk product? So we analyzed everything in the kitchen, and we made sure we transitioned to as many bulk products as possible, which created a much more home-like environment. Like in your own home, you weren't buying little packages of jellies and jams, right? You're buying like, the jar. So we're not only did it cut down on waste, but it created a more home-like environment, which is what we really, really want. All right, let's move on to the next initiative, which would be our medication cups and spoons. And this one was a little bit bigger because it required us to work quite closely with our clinical teams. So when you're giving out medications, people want sometimes like a drink, or the clinical team needs to like stir in with the spoon, the crushed pills and that kind of thing. So they were using disposables. So we looked in what would it take to use reusable products. And we're like, hey, we can do this. So we bought clear bins, and we got the stats of kind of what all the units were going to need for those products. And in December 2025, the summit introduced reusable cups and medication spoons across all communities. And using the cost data, we modeled the impact of switching to reusables and projected a $12,000 annual savings, which actually equated to about 1.27 tons of waste. And that reduction we could hit those numbers when we just reuse those cups and spoons 100 times. But we found that there was even a break-even point at 28 reuses of cups and just 12 reuses for spoons, confirming that this transition is both financially advantageous and operationally practical for Island Health. And so it's going really well, and we're really excited about that. And our last initiative that we're just looking at right now, I shouldn't say it's our last one. We won't be done. We're never really done looking at Green Team initiatives. But right now we are looking at some paper use right now, just making sure everybody is buying the right kind of paper. The Island Health approved sugar sheet is what we're using. And that's working really well. And we're looking at how often we're printing. What are we printing? Do we need to print it? Is there other ways of displaying this information as well? And so we're analyzing those opportunities for savings as well. And that's what we've been doing here at the summit. And I'm open to questions. If people want to send me, have any questions, I can take questions as well.
Amazing. Yeah, so thanks so much, Denise. And we are moving into the question period. But first, I just wanted to say a huge thank you to Denise and to Terry and the whole climate action team and staff at Berwick House there, Berwick Royal Oak. Amazing activities going on at both of these facilities you've been talking about. And thanks also to Dagmar for a great run through for the guide, and for Rebecca to providing the background from Saanich as well. So we do hope that many seniors' homes in Greater Victoria and beyond can become inspired by the ideas we've shared today in the guide and the ideas all of you have shared. And so we'd love for the guide to evolve. We'll keep incorporating new actions and ideas. And as a next step, we're pleased to offer an in-person workshop for seniors' homes within Greater Victoria. And this will provide space to explore the action packages in more detail and think through what feels possible right now for moving forward. And for those that aren't part of upcoming workshops, we encourage you to explore the guide, share it with your organization or community, and stay connected.
Just one last little piece, which really feels very resonant also from what we were just hearing from Denise and Terry. There are just a few strategies for making sustainable living stick, and we heard so many of them just now in those two presentations. So, so the first is to repeat something on a regular basis. And so when we think about a regular basis, this could be something which is a physical something. It could be an event. It could be, and so the clothing swap was a great example that we heard from you, Terry, where that is something that people can look forward to on a monthly basis, and so therefore they plan towards it. We could imagine also things like outings. One of the partners with One Planet Saanich is Power to Be, and they're working to support seniors to get out into nature. So is there a partnership that's possible there? Is there, for example, a bike repair group that could come in from time to time and support on repairs? So that's repeating on a regular basis. The other thing is to make something permanent. And so that can be something like what Denise was mentioning. It could be a regulatory something where we just say, we don't do disposables for this. And so that gets written into the purchases. It gets written into sort of the way in which business is done. It could also be something which is a soft something like a green committee, which really keeps that long-term emphasis on sustainable living and sustainability alive within the seniors home over time. Or it could be something physical like a bike tuning station or a little library or a space where things regularly can be swapped. So the other question that I have around making it permanent is, can it become something which then becomes an asset to the rest of the community as well? So perhaps it lives at this senior's home, but it is something which others can access as well. And then the last thing is ties more into what Denise was speaking about, but we can see this on everything from an operations level, from the home itself through to a resident level, that there can be bulk purchases, and bulk purchases, we can think about things like buying flour or shampoo that comes, or True Earth. We heard the True Earth laundry strips. Are there negotiations that can happen with a company where where that gets purchased in bulk and then distributed to the seniors, or used within the operations? But it could even be something like heat pump installation or new windows, where that becomes a few seniors' homes together, either within a joint operation or otherwise, coming together to purchase something at the same time and make the same upgrades, make the same shifts happen. So those were just a few thoughts on how some of these actions can become much more institutionalized and much more part of the lives of the seniors who are living there, or of the seniors home itself. So thank you so much, Denise and Terry, for also bringing those home in such live examples of what that looks like. So as Cora noted, of course, the Seniors Home Guide and the other materials will be available, and we'll be running these in-person workshops as well. But you can reach out to either of us on the email that's there.